Tonight, waiting for a winner.
I, for one, am not watching anything because I'm terrified.
But many Canadians are glued to the race for president as millions of mail-in votes are still being counted. Plus,
I mean, I'm already uneasy, right? I'm already worried about him going to school every day. And
increasing class sizes at a Mississauga school has parents worried about safety and more potential changes in the school year for their kids. And the pandemic hasn't halted Toronto's hot real estate, but we'll tell you how it has shaken up the condo market. We begin tonight with the latest in the race for the White House. This is a live look at ballots being counted late into the night in Fulton County, Georgia. More than 24 hours after polls closed, that state is still undecided. Though Joe Biden is inching closer to the 270 electoral votes he needs to clinch the presidency, while the Trump campaign has filed lawsuits to halt voting in some contested swing states like Georgia. And here's where things stand tonight. Biden holds 253 electoral votes, just 17 shy of the 270 he needs. Donald Trump sitting at 214, but the results are far from final, with several battleground states still in play. Right now, it's still too close to call in Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. Good evening, I'm Talia Ricci. It was a late night of watching the results. Many are still glued to their screens tonight. And whether they're Biden backers or Trump supporters, there are a lot of Americans living here in the GTA. Chris Glover checked in with some of them today.
As boring as it may be to watch Michigan ballots being counted, the stakes here could not be higher.
This is going to take time. We did not expect to have clear results today.
Democrats Abroad Canada chair and Michigan voter Steve Nardi is anxious.
We need some smiles, all right? We got to start off with a little bit of energy.
Last night, hundreds joined his online election party, and as Joe Biden failed to sweep the nation as some had hoped, this was the tenor of that party.
I, for one, am not watching anything because I'm terrified.
We had people on Zoom actually till 5 o'clock this morning.
Democrats Abroad Canada chapter has doubled since 2016, and this election, way more of them requested ballots, about 20,000. Many voted in border state Michigan. That late today, CBC called for Biden. Nardi thinks ballots from his fellow expats were a factor.
I think my team and I get to take a little bit of pride in having had a little bit of part to help contribute to that outcome.
It should never have been this close, according to the pollsters.
The chair of Republicans Overseas Canada seems far less stressed, even though the Toronto resident thinks Trump will ultimately lose.
I'm actually less optimistic than most of my friends. They think that Trump will end up pulling it through, and I think there's a clear path for Biden.
I will tell you that the mood was a bit darker than I was hoping for it to be.
U of T student Hannah Bruce commiserated online last night with about 50 people from her school for an election event. Not seeing a big Biden win was demoralizing for Democrats like her.
This could drag on for months even, which I think would make things a lot more toxic than they are already.
How things are going on the ground down there in Michigan.
Nardi anxiously checks in back home today, and he's already planning to bring a laugh therapist onto his next political Zoom call.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it myself, actually.
Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto.
Now, they may not have a direct stake in the outcome like the people we heard from in Chris's story, but the GTA commuters we spoke with today are also still following the U.S. political drama closely.
As much as we're separate, we still look to the U.S. for their ideas and how their economy is. It affects us a lot. So it does, at the end of the day, we are separate, but it does kind of affect us.
You know, it's like an accident seer, but likes to see what happened. And then I think people are going to go on about their business and concern themselves more focused on what they have to do is their job, their life, and dealing with COVID, and let the other things just sort of play out.
Just a very uncertain world these days. But there's nothing you can do about it. You got to be master of your own destiny, I guess, and in the end, we'll get a result eventually.
It's such a divided country, you know, it really is. It's truly a divided country.
The race for the White House is developing by the minute. Remember, you can stay up to date with the latest results by going to our website. Find it all at cbcnews.ca. And turning to news here at home, as the province reports close to 1,000 new cases of COVID-19 today, some are criticizing the government's reopening plan. The new color-coded system is set to go into effect this weekend and 1 week later in Toronto. Lorenda Redekop has more.
I recognize the Leader of Her Majesty's Loyal Opposition.
In the legislature, the opposition leader quoted concerns of medical experts about the new color-coded plan that lays out when businesses would have to shut down. Test positivity would have to hit 10%, with 100 cases per 100,000 people. Some say that's too high.
Well, Speaker, doctors fighting COVID-19 in our hospitals are desperately warning that the Premier is marching us right into disaster.
It's about early intervention to avoid getting to the red zone.
The Premier questioned whether the medical experts had read the government's entire plan. He says the new system that also adds more data for health regions is designed to help prepare in advance.
You see smoke, you go in there and you put the fire out, compared to waiting until there's a big inferno.
Hello, everyone.
Here's how the health minister responded to the criticisms.
So if we do see a huge increase in cases, there is still always the option of restricting even more, ultimately going to a lockdown. But we don't want to do that because we know that COVID unfortunately isn't going away right away.
This is as the province recorded close to 1,000 new cases today. 367 people are in hospital with the virus, and 16 more people died from COVID-19.
We are starting to see more hospitalizations.
Toronto officials say it's concerning. That health region has consistently had more cases than any other. It has a new plan, as restaurants and gyms there will be able to reopen starting November 14th.
Our team at Toronto Public Health is significantly scaling up our work and our approach in case management and in contact tracing.
It's work that had been drastically reduced because staff couldn't keep up. Now they hope to hire another 200 people by the end of the month.
We're asking our provincial counterparts to scale up their aspects of the response, not the least of which is testing.
The Premier urged anyone who has symptoms to get a test. While testing numbers were less than 30,000 today, the Premier says they can meet their goal of 50,000 tests a day. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
Meanwhile, in Peel Region, the Mayor of Brampton is applauding the province's new color-coded system.
Restaurants were not a source of major outbreaks. We didn't have a single in-dining incident in the city of Brampton. It was not a source of our COVID challenges. And so the fact that this has been revisited and restaurants are open, I think is encouraging news.
Brampton and the rest of Peel are currently in the final stretch of the 28-day modified Stage 2. On Saturday, they will move to the province's orange category. Indoor dining will be permitted at restaurants and bars. Alcohol can be served until 9 p.m. and you can have a maximum of 4 people at a table. Mississauga's mayor also sees this new system as a step in the right direction and says it's now up to businesses to do their part.
Now, as they move back indoors, it will be incumbent on all business owners and residents to adhere very closely to the rules for indoor dining.
Out of the 987 new COVID-19 cases reported in Ontario, 299 of them are in Peel Region. Parents at a Mississauga elementary school are worried about safety after learning their children's class sizes may be increasing. 3 kindergarten classes at the school might be collapsed into 2. Parents concerned tonight about it being difficult for the kids to physically distance and adjust to yet another change. Angelina King has more.
There have been no cases of COVID-19 at Sienna Maloney Lewis's school. Her mom wants it to stay that way, but now she's worried.
Their environment is now becoming less safe.
Her daughter's kindergarten class and 2 others at Garthwood Park Public School may be collapsed into 2, resulting in classes of 22 and 23 students each, according to communication between a teacher and parents. The rising COVID numbers and the easing of modified Stage 2 restrictions don't help.
I'm already uneasy, right? I'm already worried about him going to school every day and just thinking, and I felt good that the class size was like a bit smaller than usual. So I saw it. They had enough space between them and everything. But now you're going to take, let's say, 8 more kids, try to put them in.
Both these parents say their kids would lose their teacher and possibly be split up from friends.
They're just 5 years old. How much more can you put them through?
Now they're going to have to show up in a new class, build new relationships, and really start all over and lose that stability that they've had.
The board says the Education Ministry provides funding for teachers based on class size, and all the board's classes are at or below the size requirement. It also says schools are still engaged in the reorganization process and nothing has been finalized. But in an email to a parent, the school superintendent says staffing has been reviewed and it's not possible the 3 kindergarten classes can stay as they are. As for having classes with more than 20 students, Peel's medical health officer says,
there is no specific number that I would give as long as our recommendations are specifically followed around distancing, around masking, around really trying to ensure that the precautions that are put in place are done there.
He and Mississauga's mayor say schools in the region have been successful in preventing COVID outbreaks.
I think the schools have shown that it can work and it can work very safely.
The parents say they're still hopeful the board will reverse course because ultimately,
What is more important than children's safety?
if the classes do collapse, it'll be later this month. Angelina King, CBC News, Toronto.
The construction industry has teamed up with condo developer Tridel to tackle anti-black racism. Mayor John Tory says the Built for Respect campaign is necessary after an increase in racist and discriminatory threats against workers.
We've seen some of these horrific incidents involving nooses left on construction sites, and we've heard other evidence of racism taking place, within construction sites and in the industry itself. And so the industry, with its unions, today Local 183, a laborers union, great union, they have stepped up and decided to mount a campaign to say we're going to deal with this.
The racist incidents Tory is referring to took place at a site where an extension to Michael Garron Hospital is being built. In June, 2 black construction workers discovered a pair of nooses hanging at the site, managed by Ellis Dawn. Then, in late September, 2 more nooses were found at the site. The campaign's goal is to clarify what is expected on sites and what will not be tolerated to ensure every workplace remains inclusive. When we come back, Toronto's hot housing market is getting doused with a flood of condos.
Now things have shifted very much in favor of the actual buyer. Far less competition, way more inventory on the market.
We'll look at why people are buying up property outside of the city instead. Plus,
unseasonably warm for November, of course. I'm meteorologist Colette Kennedy. It carries on tomorrow and beyond. I will have your steamy forecast coming up after the break.
We have an update to an investigation that we brought you yesterday about an already convicted contractor who was accused of bilking people out of tens of thousands of dollars. Scott Eisman has now been arrested and charged by the OPP with 2 counts of fraud. The charges relate to construction work he was supposed to do at Renee Langevin's cottage to renovate a washroom and a second unknown property owner. Renee tells us he is thrilled by the charges against Eisman. He will appear in an Orillia court in December. Well, somehow, despite the pandemic, real estate in the GTA continues to do well. Homes are selling and prices are still climbing. But that's not the case when it comes to condos. Natalie Nanowski takes a look at what's happening to the once hot condo market.
This 2-bedroom High Park condo went on the market just after Labor Day, and it's still there.
I'm surprised that it's been on for so long. I sold the condo last maybe 10 years ago, and I think it sold in like a day with a double bid.
Despite the good location, extra storage and parking spot, there's been little interest. But that's the case with condos in general. According to the Toronto Real Estate Board, last October, they were in high demand, but there were few on the market. Now, listings have more than doubled, and they're not moving, something that even at the start of the pandemic was hard to predict. In March, agents were saying get ready for a wild ride.
I think we're going to see continued multiple offers, tons of bidding wars.
But now, that same agent says the market has drastically changed.
I have a few listings that I'm sitting on in the downtown core right now. They are sitting a lot longer than we had anticipated.
That's because more people are opting to take their money and use it towards homes outside of the city, since being close to the office doesn't matter as much anymore.
My business as an agent, predominantly as a downtown agent, has shifted throughout the GTA.
Some of you may not be surprised that condos in Toronto aren't doing so well. After all, they're kind of just boxes in the sky. But there are places outside of the city, like Mississauga and York region, where they're still in high demand.
It might be hard to get into a single-family home, for example, in York region. And for first-time buyers, the first step to getting into the market might just be buying a condominium in those markets.
When it comes to condo prices in Toronto, they've gone down about 9% from their peak at the start of 2020.
We're probably going to see a sluggish market for at least the next 6 months, if not 12 months.
The takeaway? It's a buyer's market. As for sellers, experts say if you don't need to move, hold on to your property until the market improves. Natalie Nanowski, CBC News, Toronto.
A clear evening in the city after a beautiful, mild, sunny November day. Meteorologist Colette Kennedy joins us now with a forecast that I don't think too many people will complain about.
Thanks, Talia. Well, my, what a day that we had today, and it's not over yet. Of course, as I've been talking about, this new air mass that's moved in, basically the warm front taking over not just southern but eastern Ontario as it worked its way through the day, and I'm going to illustrate that for you in a moment. But it's not just here for a day or two. This is going to be in place for a little while, so we will see mostly clear skies tonight. Just as we get towards the wee hours of the morning, we'll see a few clouds coming in, just a few, but more clouds certainly into the afternoon hours. The winds will back off a bit tonight, and then they'll be gusty again, but it's that southwesterly flow that helps to push the temperatures up. And the sun, full sun really, returning for Friday. There'll be some sun again tomorrow, mostly for the start of the day. So the daytime temperatures, I want to take you through the progression through the day. So this is just starting off around 7 a.m., okay? You can see already some double digits, Chatham-Kent at 10, St. Catharines at 11. But what's much more interesting is look on the other side of the warm front, okay? Not into the southwesterly flow there, into the warm sector yet. So Peterborough -3. Ottawa -2 there. Kingston a little bit different because the winds were a little different. By 10 a.m. though, look at all these double digits Ottawa, just at the freezing mark, but watch that warm front. It keeps tracking eastward. So by the time we got to 3 p.m., up to just over, unofficially 19.3, so just over 19 there for Toronto. And Ottawa finally, yeah, big jump there into the teens. So just some incredible numbers. And even at 5 p.m., sun setting at 5:04, and still those numbers really holding on. So even into the evening, holding on to some of that warmth, which is really, really nice. Even the overnight temperatures are more similar, or really more indicative of what a daytime high would be at this time of year. So there's a few of those clouds I mentioned coming in just in the morning, but more so it's going to be into the afternoon. We get more cloud cover come in. Slightly different scenario. You'll have more cloud cover earlier for southwestern Ontario. By the time we get to Friday, Eastern Ontario, you stay into some of that cloud deck with some of that low-level humidity there, but otherwise lots of sunshine to be found for Friday. Here we go. Overnight temperatures 8 to 10 degrees southwestern Ontario. Daytime highs as those winds kick back in, upper teens, and 7, 8, maybe 9 degrees St. Catharines overnight tonight. Tomorrow, because of the clouds in the afternoon, probably just a few degrees cooler in terms of those afternoon highs than where we were today. Don't worry about it. Friday 17. Don't worry about it into the weekend. Still dry conditions carrying on through Monday. Probably not till Tuesday, late Tuesday, that we'll see some showers coming back into the forecast and things changing, Talia.
Wow, what a week. Thanks, Colette.
The weather is brought to you by Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. We test, so it runs. It's hard to stop a train.
Like everything this year, it's going to be a very different Remembrance Day. When we come back, how Sunnybrook is keeping the tradition alive for our vets.
In the middle of a pandemic, we want to make sure that our veterans realize that they have not been forgotten, that their sacrifice for Canada is remembered even in difficult times for Canada.
With Remembrance Day 1 week away, Sunnybrook Veterans Center is adapting to having a COVID-friendly ceremony. And as Natalie Collada tells us, a 92-year-old veteran is helping the facility make the transition.
We can all learn a thing or two about strength and resilience from Richard Ratcliffe.
I think it's really innovative, and I think people are really going to be impressed when they see it. Our veterans will see it in their rooms and in their lounges.
The 92-year-old Korean War veteran helped adapt to this year's Remembrance Day ceremony at Sunnybrook's Veterans Center.
Well, I get very emotional about this, but we worked hard. I'm part of the committee that worked on what we were going to do it because we couldn't do the big thing. And I think the program that we have come up with is really almost superior to the one I've witnessed here in the 5 years I've been here.
Pipers, a fly-past, video-recorded ceremonies to share within the facility and with family across the country, as well as the public, will be part of this year's pandemic-adapted ceremony. So will the center's Raise the Flag operation. But instead of donors planting their flags on the lawn, center staff and military members will do it for them.
In the middle of a pandemic, we want to make sure that our veterans realize that they have not been forgotten, that their sacrifice for Canada is remembered even in difficult times for Canada.
Sunnybrook Military Hospital, which will be one of the world's great hospitals.
Sunnybrook's history with the military dates back to the 1940s. It began as a military hospital, now home to 375 veterans like Ratcliffe.
When people say, what do you think, what goes through your mind on Remembrance Day? And I always say, it's the camaraderie that we all had with our fellow servicemen who had put their lives on the line and developed a great spirit of brotherhood and sisterhood, I guess, on the front line, and we've never forgotten them.
Even during a pandemic. Natalie Collada, CBC News, Toronto.
And that's our show for you tonight. Thanks so much for watching. Dwight Drummond has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6, and I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Good night.